Hello everyone, my name is Quek and together with me is Miss Daphne Lam, Senior Associate of the Corporate and Finance Department of Halim and Quek. Today she'll be sharing with us on the newly gazetted, fresh from the oven, temporary measures for reducing the impact of COVID-19 Act, or in short, COVID-19 Act 2020. In particular, Ms. Daphne will focus on the area of inability to perform contractual obligation. That is part 2 of the COVID-19 Act 2020. So to kickstart, Ms. Daphne, could you provide us a brief introduction of this COVID-19 Act 2020?
Hi everyone, thank you for tuning to this presentation slide, right? As mentioned by Kelvin, my colleague, today I'm going to share with you part 2 of this act. For the benefit of audience, right, let me just give you a brief introduction on this act. Now, initially, this COVID-19 bill, right, it was passed by the Dewan Rakyat and Dewan Negara in August and September respectively. And the bill has just been gazetted on 23rd of October 2020, subsequent to the consent obtained from the Agong, right? So hence, today we have these temporary measures for reducing the impact of coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19 Act 2020. So basically, this act is a part of the measures taken by the Malaysian government to stem the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. In the following slides, I'm going to share with you all the part 2 of this act, which is dealing with the contractual obligations of the parties.
Okay, my next question is, when did the part 2 of the COVID-19 Act 2020, there's the inability to perform contractual obligations become enforceable?
Now, under this part 2, if say you're reading the act, under section 5, part 2 is deemed operational from 18th of March 2020 to 31st of December 2020. And of course, this will be subject to an extension by the Minister of Law as it deems necessary. So an order for the extension shall not be made after the expiry of the operational period or extension, right? So, and it may be made more than once.
Okay. Could you provide an explanation on what are the contractual relief that is provided under this part 2 of the COVID-19 Act 2020?
Okay, under section 7, if a party is unable to perform their contractual obligations due to any of the measures undertaken pursuant to this Prevention and Control of Infectious Disease Act 1988 to control or to prevent the spread of COVID-19, so the non-defaulting party will not be entitled to exercise their rights under the contract. In short, it suspends any rights of parties to enforce their rights for any contracts, right? So the inability to perform in the contractual obligation must be related directly to the measures to stop the spread of COVID-19. So hence, if the default is occurred before the COVID-19 measures, or is unrelated to such measures, the defaulting party will not be able to avail themselves for the relief under this act.
Okay, Ms. Daphne, following on, I also wish to ask if there are any requirements to be fulfilled by the defaulting party in order to rely on such contractual relief.
Now, actually, the Act is silent on the defaulting party's obligation to provide any details of to fulfill any requirements before they are seeking for any relief pursuant to Section 7 of this Act.
Okay. Now, we understand that the contractual relief is not applicable to all kinds of contracts. Could you share with us on what are the categories of contracts which are applicable to such contractual relief?
Okay, based on the schedule under Part 2 of the Act, right? These are the list of our contracts for now. We have construction work contract or construction consultancy contract. Number 2, we have a performance bond or equivalent to that is granted pursuant to construction contract. Number 3, we have a professional services contract or lease or tenancy, event contract, contract by tourism enterprise, and also religious related contract.
Okay, following on to that, what about contracts which are not listed in this schedule Is this list or categories of contracts subject to any amendment?
Now, under Section 8 of the Act, of course, apart from the list that I've read out earlier, the minister, they may by order publish in the Gazette amend the schedule to Part 2 of this Act. So, you are advised to check the Gazette, published by the minister from time to time.
Okay. My next question is there any recourse for a party in the event there is any dispute arises from the other party's inability to perform the contract?
Now, pursuant to Section 9 of this Act, if the parties there is any dispute to the contract, so the parties may refer their disputes to mediation. But then because of the use of may in the Act, so mediation basically is not mandatory. Okay, so if say parties is going for this mediation, the minister may determine the mediation process, and once, if let's say the mediation is successful, the parties may enter into a written settlement agreement. Both parties have signed it and be authenticated by the mediator. So the settlement agreement shall be binding on both parties once all this has been done.
Okay, following on to that, my next question is, would the COVID-19 Act 2020 have any impact on any previous contracts, legal proceedings, or court orders which have been initiated or completed before the effective date of this Act?
Now, based on Section 10 of the Act, any contract terminated, any deficit or performance bond forfeited, any damages received, any legal proceedings, arbitration or mediation commenced, and any judgment or award granted, or any execution carried out for the period from 18 March 2020 until the date of publication of the COVID-19 Act, shall be deemed to have validly terminated, forfeited, received, commenced, granted, or carried out. So this is a saving provision under Part 2 of the Act.
Thank you. Thank you, Daphne, for the informative and enlightening sharing with us today. And that marks the end of our sharing session. And I hope all of us have better understanding of the protection regarding inability to perform contractual obligations under this new COVID-19 Act 2020. Thank you very much for joining. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.